How do you fix it?
You first have to start with the subconscious mind of the black mind. And the problem with the black mind is the fact that the black mind starts off with a defeatist mentality. From the day you're born, you're taught the white man's out to get you. You start off with a boogeyman, and then you're taught that you're a slave, right? So when your subconscious mind believes that the beginnings of your race is a slave, how do you aspire to be more than that? Well, in order to correct the black community, you have to teach black history, or so-called black history, or what I would say African history, in chronological order. Before we were slaves, we were kings. So how do you have a whole entire nation of 40 some odd million black people, and majority of them never heard of Queen Angola, who never heard of the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, none of this stuff, right? King Mansa Musa. How do you raise a people's level of awareness about this stuff? And then how do you elevate them to want to do things in life when they think they are a slave? That's the first thing that you have to do to help black people. You have to teach them who they are.
That expression, before they were slaves, they were kings. The problem with that is a king is a monarch, and a monarch is one person who controls giant groups of people. You can't have a bunch of kings. There's not a lot of kings. You have a nation of kings.
Correct. But that's very different from saying, we had 4 kings, right? Let's say there were just 4, right? Mm-hmm. That's better than saying Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and these free slaves, right? You actually have to see at least one king.
I see what you're saying.
At least say.
So see one advanced human being that also looks like you, that came from the same part of the world where your ancestors came from. Recognize that the trajectory that you and your family are on is a direct result of being enslaved. That someone was enslaved in the past and brought over here against their will. Mm-hmm. That's why there's the negative mindset. That's why there's a negative self-image, is because there's this great history of oppression.
When you think you're a slave, you can't operate outside of that.
And even if you don't think you're a slave, you think you're inferior. I had, do you know who Miss Pat is?
No.
Hilarious comedian. One of the funniest human beings alive. And she was here, and one of the things she was talking about was when she was younger, that when she would see white people, she wouldn't look them in the eye. She would get nervous. She felt inferior being around them. Mm-hmm. She just wanted to get away. She didn't feel like she belonged.
Right. And that's a product of not knowing who you are, not knowing your own personal power. When you look at the Second Punic Wars of Carthage, you had Hannibal went through the Alps, which is a mission impossible, and he went all the way to the doors of Rome. And Rome said, we ain't coming outside to fight you, bro. That's how strong the power for the army was. They said, we don't want to fight. They knew if they came outside those gates, they would get their ass whooped. So how do you have a people that walk around not knowing that Hannibal Barca is a well-studied war general? Today, the Pentagon still studies him. Right? So how are you operating in America as a black person and not know who Hannibal Barca is?
Well, it's difficult, I think, for people that were born in America and all their known ancestors are from America to even relate. My family is mostly from Italy and Sicily, and some of them from Ireland. Mm-hmm. I don't relate at all. I visit Italy in the summer times. I don't relate at all.
Right. So then the other psyop is the fact that we were the natives. We were not brought here on slave ships. That's not economically sound.
What do you mean?